Well, hi, boys and girls. It's Mr. Wassman, and today we are going to learn how to organize a speech around the facts we learned about our famous Hoosiers. As you can see, I have a document pulled up. It's called Wax Museum Speech Organizer, and it's basically kind of a Mad Lib style document with sentence starters with missing key facts that you are going to fill in. Let's read the first sentence of the instructions, shall we? It says, using the sentence starters provided, fill in the blanks with information about your famous Hoosier taken from your research and biography. Now that's key right there, because at this point in this project, you've already done the lion's share of the work by collecting the research and writing the biography. So you don't need to be starting from scratch to complete this speech. All you have to do is go back and revisit your biography and pull the necessary information to finish these sentences out. Hello, my name is blank. I am a famous Hoosier because I blank. I was born on blank, in blank, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you what that might look like once you've completed it. Okay, now a couple years ago, I wrote a biography about the jazz musician Wes Montgomery. Okay, and I used this information to fill in a speech organizer, just like the document I just showed you. Okay. Hello, my name is Wes Montgomery. I am a famous Hoosier because my virtuoso guitar playing crossed musical boundaries and brought attention to the Indianapolis jazz scene. I was born on March 6, 1923 in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana, and so on and so forth. Now, if you go back to my biography, in the introduction section, I explain why you, the reader, should care about Wes Montgomery, the famous Hoosier. Okay, Wes Montgomery played an important role in Indiana history because his virtuoso guitar playing crossed musical boundaries and brought attention to the Indianapolis jazz scene. That sounds awful familiar because that's exactly what I wrote in my speech. Okay, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. All I'm doing is taking key components from my biography and plopping them into this Mad Lib style close story of sentence starters. Okay, now, speaking of your biographies, this speech is not going to be as detailed or as involved as your biography. Matter of fact, the goal of this speech is to be able to tell a brief, very brief life story of your famous Hoosier in about 60 seconds. Between 60 to 90 seconds is the goal. Okay, so I'm going to leave a lot of information out. So when you go to the document here, we go from date and place of birth, mentioning one thing that person did as a child, and then we get right into that claim to fame. What made your famous Hoosier famous? Okay, so we're going to hit three key areas within our biography for the information. And again, we've already written our biographies at this point in the project, so it's going to be pretty simple to find it. Okay, so the first place is the introduction to introduce your famous Hoosier. Second place would be that beginning area where we talk about birth and childhood. And then to help us summarize our famous Hoosier's life as a famous Hoosier, we go to that timeline of important events, because that's basically what this is. It talks about the birth of your famous Hoosier, an event or two before they became famous, and then we get to the juicy stuff, the stuff that that person did to make them famous, a household name. Okay. Discovered by Lionel Hampton, played for his band for 2 years. That was in 1948, or started in 1948. In my speech, I tell you, I first made a name for myself when I was discovered in 1948 by Lionel Hampton, the famous jazz xylophone player, who asked me to join his big band. I toured and recorded with him for 2 years. Okay, so again, I just took that bit of information and put it in. I didn't put a lot more detail than that. I didn't talk about the circumstances of why Wes Montgomery left the band and went back to Indianapolis and so forth. I just give you the key ideas. Okay, and while we're at it, let's take a look at the language for a moment. As it says here, I first made a name for myself when I was discovered in 1948 by Lionel Hampton. Okay, this speech is written in the first person because you are going to be pretending to be your famous Hoosier. Okay. Hello, my name is Wes Montgomery. I am a famous Hoosier because my virtuoso guitar playing crossed musical boundaries, so on and so forth. Okay. So as you are writing in the key facts, you got to remember that you are pretending to be this person. So you're always writing in the first person as if you're talking about yourself. Well, since you've done all this research and written a biography, you're pretty much an expert on this person, so you can easily pretend to be that person in your head while you're drafting out your speech. Okay. Now let's tackle this from the beginning, shall we? Now this year, I started writing my Famous Hoosier project to model with the class on Gus Grissom. This was the topic I was interested in. And so I created another copy of that speech organizer. I just renamed it Gus Grissom Wax Museum Speech, and I'm going to start from scratch. Okay. And again, you can do it either as a Google Doc and then make yourself a copy so you can just type or copy and paste information in, or you can print off the PDF that I made available and write it out in pencil or paper. Hello, my name is, here's where I would plug in the first piece of information, which is my famous Hoosier's name, Gus Grissom. I am a famous Hoosier because. Why is Gus Grissom famous? Well, if you didn't know, and if you couldn't tell, from the cover of my biography, Gus Grissom was an astronaut. Okay. He was a founding member of Project Mercury, the first human astronaut program in the United States, and the second American ever to fly in space. Okay. Now, I can do a little Google Doc surgery right here by just copying in some of this text, okay, like so, and just dropping it right here. I am a famous Hoosier because I was a founding member of Project Mercury, the first human astronaut program in the United States. And now this is where it kind of goes off the rails from first person. So I need to tweak it a little bit. I need to revise, okay? I'm a famous Hoosier because I was a founding member of Project Mercury, the first human astronaut program, and the second American ever to fly in space. Okay, so that is enough of an introduction to get you, the listener, to start paying attention to some details. I was born in, okay? And again, if I go back to my biography, my first sentence of my second chapter, the beginning, reveals that Gus Grissom was born on April 3rd, 1926 in Mitchell, Indiana. Okay, again, I can just do a little copying and pasting, like so. I was born on April 3rd, 1926 in Mitchell, Indiana. When I was a child, I used to. Okay, so this is where I have to pick and choose one detail about Gus Grissom's life growing up. Okay, Gus Grissom was always interested in flying. Okay, he would spend his free time at the nearby Bedford, Indiana local airport. Okay, which is where he first got interested in flying. Okay, so when I was a child, I used to spend my free time in nearby Bedford, Indiana at the local airport where Gus, now, if I'm talking about myself, I'm not going to use my name in the third person. I'm going to use the pronoun I first became interested in flying. Okay, so let's reread that sentence. When I was a child, I used to spend my free time in nearby Bedford, Indiana at the local airport, comma, where I first became interested in flying. Okay. Now, as I construct this speech, I'm going to have to change some wording around. Okay. Now, as I lay it out, I need to read this aloud to myself from time to time to hear how it sounds being spoken aloud. Because unlike our biography, the primary way that people are going to hear the speech is you saying it, the words. Okay, so let me read what I've written so far. Hello, my name is Gus Grissom. I'm a famous Hoosier because I was a founding member of Project Mercury, the first human astronaut program and the second American ever to fly in space. I was born on April 3rd, 1926 in Mitchell, Indiana. When I was a child, I used to spend my free time in nearby Bedford, Indiana at the local airport where I first became interested in flying. Now, that's not bad, okay? This section right here, though, the first human astronaut program and the second American ever to fly in space, that's a little chunky. I'm going to take that part out, okay? Or actually, I'm going to replace it with the word NASA, okay? Let's reread it. Hello, my name is Gus Grissom. I am a famous Hoosier because I was a founding member of NASA and Project Mercury and the second American ever to fly in space. You see, that rolls off the tongue a little bit better. Okay. So as you're composing your speech, the wording of these sentence starters might not necessarily fit exactly everything you want to say. So you're going to have to play with it a little bit. You might have to take some words out. You might have to add some more words in. You might move some things around. And it's one of the advantages of doing it as a Google Doc. Okay. If you write it in on paper with pencil, you can kind of scratch things out or scribble things in, that sort of thing. Okay. But the goal here is to deliver a speech. The listener will never see this document. Matter of fact, by the time you're ready to deliver that speech, you're going to be delivering it pretty much from the heart. You're not going to be reading from the paper. You're just going to be talking, okay? And again, you're going to deliver the speech many, many times. So it's going to sound different a little bit from one presentation to another, and that's okay. You just need to organize the key facts and details so that you are ready with those little tidbits of that person's life on command. As you can see, one of the instructions says, although memorizing your speech is not a requirement, you should not be reading a script word for word when participating in the Wax Museum. So when it's your time to pretend to be Larry Bird or Lauren Holiday or Abraham Lincoln or Bill Pete or whichever famous Hoosier you chose, you're just going to be talking to your classmates and your fellow students here at Orchard Park or wherever we're at, and you're just going to be pretending to be that person. So you might skip a detail here, you might throw in an extra detail on the cuff there, but as long as you have a game plan, this speech organizer, you're going to be good to go. Okay, so your job right now is to take that form and take your biography and start plugging in the details so that you have a completed speech. Okay, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, good luck, and we'll talk later. Thanks.